Chairman James Comer says the committee has requested former Metropolitan Correctional Center officer Tova Noel to appear before a closed-door interview on March 26th. Noel was one of the two officers accused of falsifying records from the fateful night before Jeffrey Epstein died. Those criminal charges were later dropped, and Noel was fired from her position. But lawmakers now appear determined to revisit what happened on that night, including questions about the surveillance video and required inmate checks. Joining us now is Democratic Congressman James Walkinshaw. He's a member of the House Oversight Committee and the Homeland Security Committee. Congressman, what exactly do lawmakers believe that they will elicit from this former prison guard years after the death of Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, I don't think we know what will elicit. I think we know some of the questions that we want to ask. And, additional information has come to light about Ms. Noel since the 2023 Inspector General report was completed. Just to give one example, she received a $5,000 payment. She deposited $5,000 in cash just days before Epstein was found dead. She received a series of payments before that. The Miami Herald has sources saying that Epstein was paying protection payments to prison guards there. So, I have a lot of questions about that. Obviously, there's been renewed interest in the video with the orange figure moving through. I think we want to get answers to those questions. I don't know what the answers will be, but those are some of the questions that I have.
Congressman, it's great to see you again. Is there a way to carry out this investigation without ultimately speaking to Attorney General at the time, Bill Barr, who did not do what you and other members of Congress are trying to do now, which is get to the bottom of what exactly happened to Jeffrey Epstein in prison? I know that the former Florida Attorney General, Pam Bondi, the current Attorney General, is set to testify. But how does this investigation proceed without speaking to Bill Barr in all of this?
So the committee did receive responses from Bill Barr last year. I think your point is a good one. After this conversation with Ms. Noel and others, we might have additional questions for former Attorney General Barr related to the investigation of Epstein's death.
I know Comer is still working to schedule an interview with Howard Lutnik, but I'd love to get a sense of what your strategy, what your colleagues' strategies are going to be if you are able to get him in front of you. What do you want to know from Lutnik at this stage?
Well, here's what we know about Howard Lutnik already. He lied to the American people. He lied to his boss, Donald Trump. He lied about the extent of his relationship with Jeffrey Epstein in a very fundamental way. He said he had never been to the island, and then we learned he did go to the island. So I want to understand, why did he lie? And is he lying about anything else? And, we hear this phrase thrown around a lot. Lutnik and others haven't been accused of any wrongdoing. From my perspective, if you're a cabinet secretary, or anyone for that matter, lying to the American public is wrongdoing. He should have been fired when that was revealed. But I want to find out if he's lying about anything else, and why did he lie about that?
Congressman, Politico has reported that Jeffrey Epstein's longtime girlfriend, Ghislaine Maxwell's lawyer, on Friday acknowledged that his client, Ghislaine Maxwell, again, Jeffrey Epstein's former girlfriend, is continuing to seek a pardon from Donald Trump in the wake of the release of the Epstein files. Given that information, not that it's super surprising, but does it complicate in any way your ability to get testimony from her?
Well, we deposed Ghislaine Maxwell, and she pled the fifth. She used the opportunity of our deposition to have her attorney, same attorney, I believe, who's quoted there by Politico.
Late last week, the Department of Justice released 3 previously missing FBI memos that we knew the Department of Justice had but did not put up on their website when they released the files, that summarized the Bureau's 2019 interviews with a woman who said that Jeffrey Epstein groomed, trafficked, and sexually abused her when she was a minor. And in those interviews, the woman also said that when she was between 13 and 15 years old, the President of the United States, Donald Trump, sexually abused and beat her. The FBI seemed to take these accusations seriously enough that they interviewed the same woman 4 times, producing these FBI memos, which contain a bunch of details that are, let's say, they're verifiable, but were not verified, meaning it's possible to use available public records to just start to cross-reference some of the factual assertions she makes when describing her abuse and the situation. And that is exactly the kind of investigation that South Carolina newspaper, the Post and Courier, undertook with this Enterprise reporting. They were able to verify a number of the women's claims about her background and her family using things like court records, police reports, old print reporting, and property records. Now, Donald Trump has consistently denied wrongdoing, any wrongdoing, when it comes to Jeffrey Epstein. And the Post and Courier, I should be clear, does not substantiate the woman's allegations about Trump. In fact, the paper reports, quote, of the details the Post and Courier found supported by public records, none related directly to the alleged victim's claims about Trump. But this new reporting shows that this woman's story is, let's just say, not a completely fictitious or fabricated account, right? It's not disproven. It's not dispositively ruled out based on facts here. The paper reached out to the woman and her lawyer. They did not respond. Joining me now is Marilyn Thompson, veteran investigative reporter at the Post and Courier, who dug into public records to publish that story with her colleague, Mitchell Black. Marilyn, I just want to start by praising the work that your colleague, Mitchell Black, who I know was running around doing sort of shoe leather reporting on this, and you have done on this, because my first thought when I read through these documents, I read them a number of times, is, okay, there's some basic assertions here that should be in the public record that we can start to sift through. So tell me what you started to look for and what you found.
Yeah, Chris, if you remember the progression of the release of documents, the first document came out a little earlier, and it had a pretty substantial story of her abuse while she was living on Hilton Head Island. A lot of details that basically Mitch and I put our heads together and said, you know, these are either true or not true. And we came at this from the assumption that good reporting is looking back at the record to try to verify facts as they exist. And in this case, we were able to verify any number of claims that she made in her initial report. What she did in the second FBI interview, the first one had ended rather abruptly, and she started mentioning Trump, and then she shut down. Mm-hmm. The FBI came back and got a more detailed account. Mitch, who's a fearless young reporter, got on a plane and went to the West Coast. We had made an editorial decision that we would not name this victim. But he went to the West Coast and was able to look in the public records in kind of a breakneck pace and find verification of a number of the claims.
Can you walk us through those?
It was really interesting to watch it.
Can you just walk us through, let's start with that first interview and just like the basic claims. Hilton Head Island, she says she was there at the time. She answered this advertisement, I think, for babysitting is how she describes it. Like, what were you able to sort of pin down?
Yeah, I mean, there was a story behind it that her mother was a realtor on the island, that her mother had loaned her out for babysitting services to clients of her rental real estate company, and that she had gone to a house thinking she was babysitting, and this attack began. She did have a number of other encounters with the person that she later identified as Jeffrey Epstein. So we were able to take that story, the mother, we didn't know who she was, but we found her. You know, we found the mother, we found the mother's cases, we found property records. We did old-fashioned shoe leather type stuff that I haven't seen done in many a year.
I think it's obviously very telling that things are heating up. And it's not just New Mexico. It's also that all these new details are being corroborated and confirmed. And the net is widening. And this is bad for Trump because even if the criminal consequences don't come, like we know, for example, there's basically no way a president will be charged and certainly go through a criminal process while they're president. We know that. Like Jack Smith dropped the trial the second Trump got elected. Not because he felt the case was bad, but because it's just clearly policy. A president while in office is immune. And the president is often immune for what they did in office, at least according to the right-wing Supreme Court. But all of the stuff with Trump and his buddy Jeff and his pal Ghislaine, if there is stuff he did wrong, it's all stuff from before the time he was president, meaning he wouldn't have full immunity. And the bigger question also is the social and political consequences for Trump. Because as we now see, this is in his cabinet, both in the sense that Pam Bondi is being seen as a bad faith participant in this process by both Republicans and Democrats, that she's trying to protect Trump and or other rich and powerful men that are allies to Trump. Again, that's the perception, at least that hasn't been proven, I suppose, but that's the common perception from a lot of members of Congress. But now you also have Howard Lutnik, who has this connection and then said the connection was much smaller than it turned out to be. And he's a key member of the Trump cabinet as well. And it's that these people, if they go down like a tree in the forest, they're going to smack the big tree, Donald Trump. And more than that also, if some of these people are looking to save their own behinds, they can distract people by giving up info on Trump. Trump won't go to jail over it. He won't. Maybe he'll face civil penalties. Maybe he'll go to jail after he's president. But it will ruin his presidency if people flip on Donald Trump to get the attention off their behinds. Because he's still the biggest fish here.